I'd like Br Lchn1 now to come up and tell us a little bit about his visions of life.
I have often oh, sorry. Every time I see a microphone, I want to go. I've got a few little sketches that will be kind of accepted by CFRNers, but the rest of you try and get something out of them. The first thing is that I used to do a good impersonation of Dick Rice. You too? And it almost got me into trouble. You know, Peter, would you mind wearing a bloody tie for work, you know? Anyway, I used to make sort of phantom phone calls around the building, known to only a few of us. And this particular one that came to mind was with Keith Neal, who is no longer with us, but I'm not taking advantage of that, but it was a funny little episode. And the day before, we'd had a picnic in the back park, and Keith was taking pictures. And Dr. Rice was watching him, you know, and taking interest. So I put on my best Rice voice, and I phoned Keith, and I said, "Oh, Keith, how did those pictures turn out yesterday?" And Keith said, "Oh, Dr. Rice, they came out really well. I've got them here. Do you want to see them?" "Oh, no, not right now. Some other time. But they're very good, Dr. Rice. I'd love to show them to you right now. I'll be right down." Well, he's heading for Rice's office on one corridor, and I am trying to cut him off on the other corridor. So I get to the door just in time as he's going to bang on the door, and I grabbed his arm and I said, Keith, I got to talk to you, it's important." And he says, "This is important too, Dr. Rice is expecting me." I said, "No, he's not. I did the Rice thing." Anyway, he forgave me after a couple of years. That's the end of that little episode. I should have filled you in right from the beginning. I was the art director at CFRN for 35 years. And our art studio overlooked the executive garage next to the parking lot. The last one on the block was Dr. Rice's garage. The only one, I might add, and probably one of the first ones in town that had an automatic door opener. So I thought, this has got to be worth something. So every summer we used to hire a student who came in the art department and helped us out for the holidays. And I grabbed the student on the first day and I said, "Look, here's your first duty. About 9 o'clock every day, Mr. Rice drives up to that end garage and you have to let him in with, under the desk, a little bell button." I said, "As soon as you see him drive up and stop, you press the button and the door goes up." And I said, "Don't ever forget, and watch your clock because it's very important." And Mr. Rice used to draw up and he'd take a couple of minutes to fumble with his remote control. So the kids had just a few seconds to do it, you know, and this went on for years. And we milked it for about a week with each student, and then we let him in on the secret. The little button went nowhere, just went a piece of wire into the wall. But anyway, it sounded funnier when I was thinking about it. Dr. Rice was a great guy, really. He was a little bit aloof and sometimes a little hard to understand, and we made fun of him. But I have to tell you this story about, I'd been there about 2 years, and my wife had just had a second miscarriage. And as you can tell by my accent, I'm from Limeyland. And she was very depressed, and I wanted to send her back to her parents for a holiday to get over this miscarriage. And one day, so we were planning this, the phone rang and it was Doris Chapman. And she was downtown in those days in the CPR building, and Dr. Rice's office was there near the old radio station. She says, "Dr. Rice would like to see you." I said, "What, in his office downtown?" You know, that was hallowed ground. Yes, this afternoon. So I made my work scarce, and I took off downtown and found parking and went up to the office. I had to wait about half an hour, but I was finally shown in. And Dr. Rice said, "Oh, Peter, sit down. Do you smoke?" "Yes, Dr. Rice." "Have a cigarette." We had a cigarette and a talk, and he said, "I hear you've had a bit of bad luck." So I said, "Yeah, we have. And my wife is very upset and disturbed, and she's going to take a trip." And that was his cue to open his drawer and pull out an envelope. And in it was half the fare, the airfare to the UK, for my wife to go and see her folks. Wasn't that great? Oh, sorry to get emotional, but it was an emotional few minutes. And I retired from CFRN, just to wind it up now, and it's a very funny little story. I retired from CFRN in 92 after 35 years, and my wife and I took a cruise to the South Seas, and we did Australia and all that lot, you know, a wonderful, wonderful 21-day holiday. I get back and I catch up on my reading, you know, which I've been putting aside, and I got all read out, and I finally said to my wife, "God, you know, what can I do now? You know, what's to do after work?" So she said, "I don't know, you better find something." So at that time, the Mayfield Dinner Theatre was advertising for a set designer. Wow, what a opportunity. I went down, I did my thing, I presented myself and all my photographs and things, and I was hired. Now, here's the fun part. The rehearsal hall is where the cast do all the preparation. They're there for about a month. Then they come into the theatre on the Sunday, and they walk around the set, the real set. They've just been in a simulated type set. And I'm sitting on the front row with this, the director, and the show is called Pajama Tops, and it's featured June Wilkinson. Does that ring a bell? Yeah. And the cast go on stage, and they walk around and get familiar with the furniture, arrangements, etc., which is similar to the rehearsal hall. And they look around, and June Wilkinson comes right down to the edge of the stage, and she says, leans over and she says, "Is the set designer here?" And I said, "Oh God, what's happening?" I said, "Yeah, I'm here." She says, "Well, I love your set." And without thinking, I said, "I love your set too." Well, there was about 2 seconds of silence, and I thought, "Oh God, there's your new job gone." But then everybody broke up, including the director, who shook my hand. You know, if it had gone to hell with that thing, he'd have kicked me out of the door. But anyway, that's just a little laugh to end up with. Thank you very much.